Lately, I watched Mamma Mia, which is such a cool movie. I love how all the buildings look like. So I decided to make a tiny Greek village. Because sadly I have never been to Greece before, I had to Google first. I decided to build two of these blue domed churches, then a few normal houses, and two of these really cool looking windmills. Look at them, beautiful. First I did a little bit of scratching, but then I decided to jump right into it. So I cut some insulation foam to smaller pieces and to even more smaller pieces, which gave me the basic structures. With even more foam, I built the four towers for the churches and the windmills. And I sure can't forget the Yankees with no brims as church domes. Oh boy. For the windmills I got some witch hats. The next step was to build some steps. Some glue helped to hold it together. After I finished all the stairs, I can start to slice some plastic into fine stripes. Add some blue paint and you get some blueberry pockies. Now you can use your fresh harvested pockies to build some windows. Cut them into smaller pieces and put them on the sticky side of a clear tape. When you manage to do that, you can build a variety of rectangular shapes made out of squares. To get even a more realistic look, I filled in the holes with some clear nail polish, which my girlfriend kindly donated me. Thanks. After it dried, it should look like glass. To keep the cool in and the sun out, I had to make some window shutters too. I glued together a few of the strings to get a riffled look. After the nail polish dried, I pulled it off from the tape, cut them to the right sizes to put them again on the tape. And again, the sliced pockies came in handy. They were perfect to build some frames for the shutters. Even so, it was a bit tricky. And here's the crop of the day. Sure, I had to paint them all blue, which was a bit of a messy job. For the churches, I wanted to have a little bit of different windows. I dipped this wire into blue paint. After it dried, I bent it into U shapes to get the typical church windows. A piece of tape helped again to hold them in place while I put the inner frame together. Some clear nail polish as glass. And here are the final products. For the church doors, I made pretty much the same thing as for the windows, just that I put some paper on the lower section. Since there was already blue paint on my brush, why not color these too? As next step, I made some doors for the tiny villagers to get into their houses. These I made the same way as the window shutters, just a number larger. To have a bigger variety, I made a second type of doors. These have some windows on the top and paper on the bottom. As door handles, I used some small wire pieces. For safety reasons, I had to build some railings too. For that, I used some painted wires and placed a lot of small pocky pieces on the bottom side. After I had two half ladders, some glue helped to fix the pockets in place. For the roof decks and the floorings, I tried out a few things. I think the two best ones are these stone inlays and the tile flooring. For the stone inlay, I cut some random shapes into the foam. To get more stone-like textures, I tapped this aluminium ball onto the surface all around it. For the tiles I took this very fine mesh, which was once a fly screen. Cut them roughly to the sizes I needed them and painted all the areas where I wanted to have tiles in different earth tones. I chose these terracotta tiles because it fits good the Greek and Mediterranean vibes. And now it's time to paint the typical white calc paint. But sadly I had only acrylic paint, which worked good enough. Off camera I painted the fly screens white. After I cut them to the right size, I fixed them with some glue. When the glue dried, I glazed it with some nail polish to get a glazy and shiny look. For the stone flooring I painted all the stones in a few different colors to get a big variety. For the windmill roofs I used some paper strips, which I then cut in to get some roof tiles. A pretty messy paint job and a good hand wash later, the roof tiles dried and I was able to glue them to the roofs. I still had a few of these wood strips from the last video, which I used to build the rotor blades for the windmills. Are there even called rotor blades? To attach the blades to the windmill, I rounded this piece of wood and cut it to the right length. And sure, I had to fall behind my desk. But here we go. After attaching them to the blades, I built these X shapes to add a bit more strength to the structure. I added the strings that it not just looks like the heavy beams are held together with some magic. Another piece of string comes around the blade structure. I guess they are used to control the sails through some mechanics. After I knotted the first one, I wound it around the spokes. First I didn't want to make any sails, but then I thought it wouldn't be that difficult, so I gave it a try. To give this tissue a more clothy look, I give it a layer of paint and glue. After it dried, I cut them into small triangles and glued them onto the frames. For the other windmill I rolled in the cells, so it looks like it wouldn't be working right now. And here are the final two. Now it's time to build the typical white walls, which I often use as railings or white fences. Again I used some XPS foam, which I cut into the right shapes, but always had a little bit of overlap. It was always a bit higher than the roof, so nobody can fall off. I tried to glue the walls together without gluing them to the house itself, so I can remove the walls later on. After a bit of struggling with the removing of the walls, I give it a quick sanding and a tapping with the aluminium ball. When I thought the edges were round enough, I give it a quick paint job. After it dried, I could finally glue them together. Still a pretty big gap between the walls and the house, so I filled it in with a goop called Spachtelmasse Fein. Yummy! Now we can start to assemble the houses. I started with the doors first, then the windows. Plop. I wanted to make a few on each side, so the tiny Greek villager have nice views. And now we need the window shutters. Oh, Donna, you found them for me. Hey, stop, don't hurt yourself. This is a better place for them. Thank you. When I googled the houses, I noticed that the shutters are mostly closed, so I made a few closed and a few open. I heard that Greek summers can be really hot. But the white caulk paint helps to reflect the sun, so indoors it stays chilly. Do you remember the railings I made? I just had to clean them up and they were ready to go on. By bending the wire, I made it fit exactly the roofline. And now here comes a time-lapse of the other houses. Because you're still watching my video, I put in this bonus clip of me feeding a wild marmot. Thank you. It looks so cute with his small hands, isn't it? Oh. Oh, sorry little one. Come here again. It later came back with some friends, but I didn't make a video of it anymore. And the last ones were the windmills. So it's finally time to attach the wind blades to the tower so it even get a windmill. Turning it one last time before the glue dries. Oh, and I shouldn't forget the X-beams. Now the structure is stable enough, hopefully. And the second one too. So that all my houses look a bit more used and realistic, I give it the black wash. I mix together an acrylic paint and this black wash. I used pretty much of it, maybe a bit too much. Where it was too much, I took this napkin and dipped it off, especially at the windows and the doors. When the first layer dried, I took the black wash again and made some shadow lines. When it dried again, I put on a last layer of paint, which was a white dry brushing. This highlights the spots that get the most sunshine. For the final touches, I added a little bit of dried moss and green flocking, so it all looks a bit more alive. With a lot of glue, I fixed the moss to the house, so it looks like it grows up the walls. For the flocking, I painted the lower section of the walls with glue and sprinkled it over it. But be careful to not waste any of it. As a wise man said it once. So give it a good tapping that all the loose flocks fall off. As last steps, I built some crosses for the churches, which was a really fiddly work. But finally it was all finished. And here comes now some beauty shots. I hope you liked my video. And thank you for everybody who is a part of Mamma Mia. And thanks for Pocky too, to be such a good snack. I hope you got into the mood to watch Mamma Mia next and snack some Pockies. Bye bye.